A Saudi Arabian youth court has sentenced a Canadian man to 1 year in jail and 200 lashes. 17-year-old Sultan Kohail and his 23-year-old brother Muhammad were detained in January of 2007 after a man was killed in a schoolyard brawl in Saudi Arabia. The fight was caught on tape. Muhammad Kohail was convicted in March and sentenced to beheading, an order that his lawyer is trying to appeal. Both brothers are Palestinian but have been Canadian citizens since 2005. With more on this story, we're joined now on the line by Mahmoud Al-Ken, who is a close friend of the Kohail family. Mr. Al-Ken, how is the family dealing with this news? They already have one son sentenced to a beheading in Saudi Arabia. Now this.
Well, certainly this sentence is significantly lesser than the death sentence imposed on Sultan's brother Muhammad, as well as his friend Muhanna Masoud, that was given on March the 3rd. It's important to recognize that this incident was primarily the result of the judge permitting vigorous cross-examination of the prosecutor's witnesses. Muhammad lacked that due process in his court, unfortunately. And we hope that the Court of Appeal will look at it more closely and give that due process to Muhammad Kohail as well as Muhanna Masoud, his friend, who's convicted in the same case and sentenced to death as well.
So according to the family, what is the problem with the trial and the way this entire thing has been conducted?
For Muhammad Kohail, there was no due process taken into consideration by the judge. And we have to note that Sultan had a different judge in the youth court who did apply vigorous cross-examination of the prosecutor's witnesses. That was not the case in Muhammad Kohail's. The witnesses taken into consideration were not cross-examined, as we mentioned before. The evidence was not heard, as well as their witnesses were not taken into consideration. That due process was largely the cause of the less severe punishment we're getting in here. I would like also to note that the family of Sultan and Muhammad Kohail are appealing the death sentence, and also appealing the Sultan sentence as well. Right now, it's largely due to the fact that 15 people got engaged in that fight, but none of them was charged, with the exception of the 3, which is Sultan Kohail, Muhammad Kohail, as well as Muhanna Masoud.
All right, so there are appeals for both brothers, and clearly the family is saying there was not a proper due process for both, and also, as you say, taking issue with the fact that many others were involved, and yet they're not being prosecuted, correct?
This is correct.
Yeah.
The Kohail, both brothers, as well as Muhanna Masoud, were outnumbered in that fight 4-1, according to their witnesses. Now, this is very crucial in the case to be noticed. They also, the other party, initiated the fight, carrying weapons such as tasers and chains.
Let me ask you, how are both brothers doing? What do we know about where they're being held, their conditions, their contact that is allowed? What do we know about that?
Well, Muhammad is doing pretty bad. He's waiting for a death sentence. I can't really imagine how would someone be feeling when he's waiting for a death sentence and believing he is innocent. This is the same as Muhanna Masoud, his friend. Now, for Sultan, the punishment is way less severe. They were really afraid of the death sentence to be coming out. That was not the case. It's a year penalty.
So does that mean that
200 leeches? They're still appealing it, though.
Is the family somewhat relieved, though, that this second trial, the second brother, was not as severe? Is there some relief?
Well, the relief is there is no death penalty, so they can tackle this issue more rationally. They can focus on the appeal. We hope that the judges will link that to Muhammad's trial, but still, they believe that it should not be applied to Sultan as well.
Obviously, a lot of people, a lot of Canadians watching this closely. Mahmoud Al-Ken, a friend of the Kohail family. Thank you.
Thank you.
An investigation is underway into a fire that destroyed the historic military armory in Quebec City. Police say the blaze began inside the building at around 9:30 last night and spread quickly. Several witnesses reported hearing an explosion after flames had already engulfed the armory. No injuries were reported. The armory was built in 1885 and was home to Les Voltigeurs, Canada's first Francophone infantry regiment. It was scheduled to host events this year for Quebec City's 400th anniversary.